So it's the next day, I'm at the same location, and I was editing the pictures I took yesterday of the tree, and I realized they're not really minimalist images, or at least not what I'm going for. So today's video is going to be all about minimalist landscape photography, or rather my process on how I do it, and also kind of a how-to video. Now, minimalist landscape photography is very challenging. You just want a few simple elements in the scene and nothing more. With landscape photography, it's very easy to get ahead of yourself and just want to capture the biggest views and the nice panoramic shots, which nothing wrong with that. Those can turn out to be some pretty spectacular images, but I like to kind of simplify it a little bit, just like getting a single tree, a single rock, and just really simplifying the scene and just not having too many distractions. So I'm kind of a sucker for a tree all by itself. So I'm here in this location that I found yesterday. I was out just hiking around, and I found this tree which is behind me here over my left shoulder, and I thought it would be a real good shot for just the tree in the scene and nothing else, because it's a pretty interesting tree. And as for minimalism, now that I'm back here at the site, it's not too minimalistic just because a lot is going on in the tree, but I think I'll be able to simplify it so just the tree is in the scene and really nothing else, just the clouds in the sky. So now when you're doing minimalist photography like this, light is very, very important. Now what I'm going to do is, I haven't decided yet actually what I'm going to do. I am going to take a shot at blue hour and probably before blue hour, because looking at this scene, the sun is going to hit it coming from behind me, because I'm looking pretty much straight north, so the sun will hit the left of the tree and hopefully I'll get some dramatic light right at sunset, and then I'll wait till after sunset and get a picture in the blue hour. Because it doesn't really matter too much if I get detail in the tree itself. I'm fine with it being completely dark just because the tree has enough interest in the outline to make a decent image. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to shoot as wide as possible, because I want the tree pretty small in my frame, and so I can get a lot of the clouds and the color in the clouds later at sunset. And I want a minimalist amount of the foreground in my scene as well. So I'm kind of standing here at this spot, and this spot's not gonna work. I'm using my 24 to 120 lens, and that's as wide as it goes. And as you can see on the composition here, in the bottom left there's some of the back mountains that are cut in, and I can zoom in to cut those out, but then the tree will be a little bit bigger in the frame, and I'm not sure if I like that. Again, I want the tree as small as possible, just to give that extra minimalist look. Because although the tree is the main subject, I don't want it to be too overbearing. So I'm going to move around and see if I can find another composition. So I moved a lot closer and just a little bit to the left, so now I'm able to just get the tree in my image and none of the mountains to the left. But also, since there are such few elements in the scene, I've got to be really careful of how I arrange them. I've just got the foreground, which is that grass, which is very minimal, and then I've got the tree itself. And what I want is, I want the top of the tree, because how the tree is kind of bent, I want that top in the center of my frame. So this composition actually looks alright. I'm actually kind of liking it a lot, really, but as you can see, the hill is at an angle, and I'm not sure if the hill will look better at an angle or if it'll look better straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of move a little bit more that way, and then get the hill so it's straight and not at an angle, and I'll see how that looks. Yeah, so I've got it set over here with the tree just, again, kind of same positioning on the tree, but you can see the line on the hill is straight. So it kind of makes it a little bit more of a, I don't know, symmetrical image, I guess you might call it. Yeah, so it's not curved. These flies are ridiculous. So I think I might like the straight hill a little bit better, but I am kind of close, so I think I'm going to scoot back some just to see if I can make the tree smaller in the scene. Alright, so I moved a little farther back, and then the tree is pretty small in the image, and then only the foreground is taking up less than the bottom quarter of the image. But I'm still not sure if I like the one with the slanted hill or the straight hill better. I keep switching back and forth between the two sample images I've taken, and I just really can't decide, because the slanted hill complements the slant of the tree a little bit, but the straight hill makes everything seem just a bit more uniform. So, yeah, but you can just see how just moving your location and just moving forward and backward just a little bit can really change the composition. So what I think I'm going to do, we still have about a little over an hour before sunset. I got here pretty early. Yeah, I think I'm just going to kind of sit and ponder and see which image I like better. And then I'm going to decide right before sunset. Then I'll go back to that composition, fine tune it, and then take some images. So it looks like a storm's rolling in, so I'm kind of going quick here. And I actually did settle on a composition I really like. I changed to a portrait orientation rather than landscape orientation. I did want to shoot this landscape, but portrait seems a lot better. So yeah, as you can see here with my composition, let me brighten it up a little bit. Turn off auto ISO. Yeah, I've got in the foreground here, because it does add a little bit more when I go vertical, not as minimalist as normal, but it's still, I like to think, a minimalist image, just because the only elements are the foreground, the tree, and the rock. So in the real low foreground here, we've got this clear patch of grass, then we've got the bushes, followed by the tree. And then the top of the tree is exactly in the center of the image, and then the bottom is a little bit left to center. So a pretty nice composition, pretty simplistic. I just hope that I don't get wet, and I hope something happens with the light. With using filters, because filters wouldn't be too beneficial, because it would really darken the tree, because I'd have to put the filter to the top of the hill to block out all the sky, and it would also block out the tree, making it look dark and a little bit unnatural. So yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to rain right above where I am here now, so hopefully I get lucky. So right now my settings are ISO 64, f16, 1.3 of a second, and I'm actually kind of liking this image. I'm blowing out the sky though, because in order to get the foreground bright, I've got to blow out the sky, and I'm actually kind of liking it like that a lot. It just adds a little bit of interest, because in minimalist images, I really don't like too many clouds in the image at all, and sometimes even none. Sometimes I just like the hues in the sky for sunset. So this one right here with the sky blown out might possibly be a keeper. So I'm waiting just a little bit because the clouds that are behind the tree right now are really bright, and more to the northwest there's some dark clouds that are coming this way. So as they get behind the tree, it should make the scene a little bit more balanced, because right now when I'm exposing for the scene, the foreground's really dark if I expose for the sky, and if I expose for the foreground, the sky's all blown out. So hopefully as the darker clouds come in, the scene will be a little bit more balanced. And yeah, with minimalism landscape photography, all you want to do is just eliminate from the scene. Find a main subject and eliminate all the distractions. Like what I did with this tree, even the foreground, I do have a little bit more foreground in there than I originally wanted, but it's not too distracting just because there's no trees sticking out, there's no kind of crazy branches or nothing like that in the foreground, so it just makes it nice and uniform. And then with the tree and the rock, it's just a simple subject and nothing else. No crazy mountains in the background, no other distracting items. So yeah, just eliminate, eliminate, eliminate until you just have your main subject by itself, and then that's how you do the minimalistic landscape photography. Alright, so the rain's kind of holding off, but it's coming. But so I should probably hike back now, but I'm gonna wait just because right behind the tree, kind of right up top the hill there, it's real bright. There's a break in the clouds. But what's coming in is some nice kind of bluish, grayish, chromish, I guess, color clouds, and I want them to blow right behind the tree because it'll make it real dramatic looking. And then it'll get rid of all that light, causing it to be an imbalanced scene as well. So hopefully the rain will hold off just until I get that image, and then I'll book it out of here real quick. Well, I think I'm going to give up, pack up and call it a day. The light's not really happening like I wanted it to, and in the west it's just really dark clouds, so I don't think the sky's going to light up for sunset. And the rain's coming, I can just watch it keep getting closer and closer. And there's some lightning as well, so I kind of want to get out of here because I got to hike across a big flat area, and if there's lightning it's probably not the safest thing to do, especially with the tripod on my backpack. So it's the next day, I'm at the same location, and I was editing the pictures I took yesterday of the tree, and I realized they're not really minimalist images, or at least not what I'm going for. Because there was a lot of detail in the clouds, and normally with landscape photography you do want some nice dramatic clouds, but what I'm going for is a more minimalistic look, so the clouds were just a bit distracting. So I'm back here again because it's a somewhat clear day. And I wanted to do the same composition, but I had to change my composition just because there's some clouds again in the sky. But when I left about 45 minutes ago, there weren't any clouds, but now some clouds have rolled in, so now I'm kind of looking away from the sun, when yesterday I was looking towards the sun. And this is kind of a better location as well, just because there's some light hitting the foreground and hitting the tree. Because I'm going to wait for blue hour today to take a shot, because we should get some really nice hues in the sky. So, yep, I'm going to try again and do some minimalism photography today. So now we actually are getting some clouds in my scene here, but they're really nice light wispy clouds, so I'm not too worried about it, and they might just catch some light at sunset, so it might make it look pretty good. And it'll still go with the minimalism image, just because it's not too much like yesterday's clouds. There was so much detail in it that it was distracting and not very simplistic. Well, I'm going to go over my composition. So it's a pretty simple composition, kind of similar to what I did yesterday, except on the other side, so the tree's leaning to the left. And it did take a couple minutes for me to find the right composition with the bend in the tree and just the hill with nothing else in the background. But after wandering around for a little bit, I ended up finding it. So yeah, it's turned out pretty good. Again, very simple. We just have the hill here on a slant, and then it's kind of hard to see, but I'll brighten it up. Then in the foreground, you just have the kind of the brush, which I don't really like the brush either. That's a little bit distracting, but I'm not too worried about it just because it's only taking up maybe less than a quarter of the frame. And then we have the tree with, again, the tip of the tree there is mostly centered in the frame. So yeah, now I'm just going to wait for some nice light and then hopefully get an image. And also there's no need for filters, just because I'm not shooting towards the sun, so the light's not too harsh in the sky. And I might time blend it in later, so I've already got my foreground images and the image of the tree with the sunlight already on it. So I'm just waiting for the light to catch in the sky and on the little bit of clouds that I do have. Yeah, no need to focus stack either, because I'm just focusing on the rock and the tree. And if the foreground's not in focus, I'm not worried about it because I'm not going for sharp throughout. I just want the tree to be nice and sharp because that's the main subject and really the only subject. And the more I sit with the scene, the more I'm not sure if it's a minimalist image, just because that foreground is really bothering me. It's really messy. That's what it'd be nice if it was on a nice sand dune or in water. A lot of good minimalism images can be taken in water because water doesn't really hold much detail, so you can really isolate the subject. But I'll still wait. It's almost time for sunset, and it looks like we might get some real nice light and then just some real nice clouds that are going to go perfect right above the tree. So I might get lucky and at least come away with a good image. So unfortunately, the light's not really happening like I wanted it to. I normally like to do these types of shots during blue hour because you get these really nice hues in the sky. And we are getting some nice hues, but it's more towards the horizon, towards the east, and really not in my scene. And there is a little bit of a cloud in my scene, but it's kind of behind the tree now in an awkward location, and it's really not catching any light. And I'm just shooting at 2.5 of a second for shutter speed, f11 ISO 64. Yeah, no, nothing too technically advanced about this image here. Well, I think I'm going to pack it up and call it a night. All the nice light in the sky is pretty much fading, so it's getting kind of dark. Yeah, well, yesterday's images didn't really turn out that well in regards to minimalist images, but I do kind of like them. Some of them turned out okay, I think. It was still nice to come to this composition and try and just get something nice and simple and not the big shots, what I've been trying to get recently here in Yellowstone. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you later.